Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. I don't have my headphones because we were doing it on speaker. So if I sound a little bit different than usual to the podcast listeners, I apologize for that. But let's switch the graphic around because I always forget to do that. And we can break down this huge win for I want to call them the Washington football team, the Commanders. And it's exciting. Oh, I just want to give a quick scoring update. The Browns are beating Cincinnati 32-13. They're at the 2-minute warning, and the Browns have the ball, and they are 2nd and 1, and they just got a first down right around the 10-yard line. So that should be 1st and goal, and the game should be pretty much over at this point. They can probably just almost kneel it down. Really good game for the Commanders. At least the first half, I thought they played really well defensively. And then it all kind of fell apart for them. And then we had this miraculous comeback at the end. So I'm just going to break down some of the scoring real quick and the ebbs and the flows, and then I'll get both of your guys' assessment on it, and then we'll preview the upcoming game against the Vikings in that one. So, all right, well, let's just talk about it quarter by quarter. So there was no scoring in the first quarter. The Commanders were able to score in the second quarter, a touchdown and hold them to a field goal. So it was the field goal came first for Indianapolis, and then Washington marched right down the field just a couple of minutes later and scored a touchdown to a pass to Antonio Gibson to the right for a 9-yard touchdown. Then in the third quarter, they kicked a field goal to make it close, 7-6. And then in the fourth quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, kind of went off the rails a little bit. They allowed for a field goal, which was good, but they didn't allow for a touchdown. And on that drive, and then in the right afterwards, they got a touchdown. So back-to-back scoring. We're then down 9. It wasn't looking good for the Commanders. But they were able to put a drive together, and they got a field goal. And at the time, I was like, you just got to take the points. You got to trust your defense to hold them. And in fact, they did. And Washington was able to drive with very little time left. And a really great pass to Terry McLaurin, getting it down at about the 1-yard line. And then the legend of Taylor Heineke grows, and he, submarines in for the touchdown. And we make the extra point, and we hold on to win 17-16. And now we've won 3 in a row. And 3 weeks ago, we had a very different tune about this team. And even I was kind of a Debbie Downer when things were kind of falling apart in the fourth quarter there. I'll start with you, Champ. What were your thoughts running through your head when we were watching a 7-6 game kind of slip away? And then your thoughts as we made the big comeback.
I need a defibrillator. Those are my thoughts. I need a defibrillator because this team's going to give me heart problems. That's why I'm glad I drink wine, because it's healthy for my heart. Because watching this team is bad for your heart. Okay, so Washington was 2 for 12 on third down conversions on this game. That's not good. That's just under 17%. That means you're putting your defense back on the field with not enough adequate rest. Now, granted, they did get 20 first downs in this game, so that's okay. But the crazy part about this game is that, one, your top 2 leading rushers in this game were Heineke and Samuels, who each had 29 yards. Your running back wasn't your top rusher. Like that kind of confuses me a little bit. Now, granted, you had 96 rushing yards as a team, but your top 2 rushers were your quarterback and your wide receiver. That's baffling me, especially when you have a quote unquote like 1-2 punch of Robinson and Gibson. So that's why it confused me. But what really stood out to me was that Terry McLaurin, who is from Indy, came home and showed out, including clutching up on that big catch at the 1-yard line, taking it away from a very, very good cornerback, by the way. That cornerback he stole that pass from is no slouch. And he stole that pass from him, got it down to the 1. Heineke was able to sneak it in to get the go-ahead touchdown, to get the go-ahead lead. and they were able to hold on for the victory. This is by no means an easy win for this Washington team against a Colts team that's not very good, but they looked good in this one. So Washington's got to clean up a lot of things offensively, including having their running backs, because they have running back for a reason, be the leading rushers in their offense and not your quarterback and your wide receiver. But overall, stressful win, but it's 3 in a row and we move forward.
Yeah, we're now in 8th place in the conference, which is just kind of amazing from where we sat 3 weeks ago, when we thought, is this season even going to matter? Is there going to be some exciting storylines? And so it's been interesting. Arun, what are some of your takeaways from the near collapse in the fourth quarter to then the legend of Taylor Heinicke growing once again?
Yeah, our projections of this team just basically changed once Carson Wentz left the field, because like in this last game, Wentz, they believe he threw for like 100 yards. In this game, Heinicke threw for 279 yards. And even though that play to Terry McLaurin, like it could have been intercepted, at least he's throwing it up there to like Terry McLaurin. Wentz kind of was like, I think McLaurin became like the third option for some reason behind Dotson and Samuel, which didn't make that much sense. And now McLaurin, again, second straight week that he's really fired up. I'll give Gibson a pass for only getting 19 yards rushing because he had 58 yards receiving. He was throwing the ball 7 times. He caught all 7 of his passes, especially that opening drive where he started the game on the field. It's good that he was more involved in this game. And if he wasn't, then I think Washington would have lost this game. Robinson, he's not really, he should be actually getting something done in between the tackles, only 2.5 yards per play. J.D. McKissick, that was an awful play on that before that 4th and short conversion. He just fell down for no reason on that 2-minute drive, but I guess he caught 3 passes for 14 yards. But I don't know. I'd rather have Gibson out there than McKissick, especially if Gibson's going to be fresh if he has splitting time with Robinson. McLaurin was kind of funny. He ran once for -7 yards, but Heinicke leading the team in rushing, passing, and heart. And the Colts, they almost pulled out a win. Like if it wasn't for the opening drive and the closing drive, they played really good defensively, but you got to play the whole game. And Ellinger, he didn't make that many mistakes. He avoided getting sacked, as like Matt Ryan was was among like the most sacked quarterbacks this season. He extended plays, but 16 points isn't usually going to win you the game. And Washington able to pull out a win, despite even Heinicke was kind of sloppy. A couple of those drives, he threw a pick. They didn't convert a lot, but when it mattered, he was clutch down the stretch. It kind of reminds me of like Tim Tebow or something. Even like the defense, they got that 3rd down play overturned, and I think that was a turning point. Then Washington got a chance to go back down the field, and Terry McLaurin, homecoming back to Indianapolis, and he's able to get the win for the Commanders.
Real quick, Robbie, I forgot to also mention, I got to give a kudos to the defense for getting 2 very crucial takeaways in this game as well. They had been struggling on taking the ball away from teams in the last few weeks. So on this game, they were able to get 2 very crucial takeaways, which I think contributed to them being able to win this game as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's and it was the timing of the takeaways and also where they were in the field, and they were able to like flip field position. Even if they weren't able to get first downs afterwards, they were able to punt the ball. And I thought even the special teams was really good, making the field goals that were important, extra points that are important. We see things get screwed up in that. And I also wanted to say that in the kicking game, having the I still think Trustway is one of our MVPs. I mean,
absolutely.
You see every time, Terry McLaurin, what is the person he was the most excited to see on the bench and like dap up and like, was none other, than him, which is weird that like a kicker gets so much love on that team, like he ran over to him after he scored, which I thought was pretty like cool to see. Like, because trust play is such an important part of it. I'm happy that he gets to be a part of that team. There's a part of that spark to excite the other players as well. So, Champ, any other thoughts you have on this game before we move on?
I just like the fact that Terry McLaurin was home and he just stood out. He finally got some more targets and he was able to produce for those targets. So I think he needs to get more involved in the offense, the passing game. It was great to have Logan Thomas back. And it'll be great to get Dotson back. Once you get Dotson back and Logan's much more healthier, this passing attack with Heineke under center is going to be absolutely a force to be reckoned with, honestly.
Yeah. And Arun, any final thoughts before we move on to the upcoming game?
No, just I think we touched on everything. Just was funny seeing Dan Snyder in the stands. They're talking about Jim Irsay made comments about moving him as an owner. It was pretty funny that Dan Snyder showed up in Indianapolis.
Yeah. All right. So the Vikings just beat the Cardinals in their most recent game. So that's their 5th straight win. So both teams are coming on a win streak. The Vikings game was pretty close. At halftime, Minnesota was only up 14-10. But in the third quarter, it was back and forth. In fact, Arizona scored first in the third quarter, but then an important touchdown and then another touchdown, and then Kyler Murray tried to come back. They scored a touchdown, but a 2-point attempt failed. They then kicked a field goal to make it 20-26. But then Kirk Cousins, with 8:41 left, passed a touchdown to end up winning 34-26. They missed the point after for that. That's how you get to that score. Just an interesting game, but a big win, obviously, for them. This game is in Washington, so I'm hoping that's helpful. I think that this is the toughest team we've faced in a while. But Champ, I'll get your thoughts on this matchup against the Vikings.
If there's enough Commanders fans in the stands, they are going to give Kirk Cousins so much sugar honey iced tea when he comes out of that tunnel. They are going to boo the hell out of that man when he shows up in Vikings purple. Let's get that out the way. But let's not.
Could they though? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would boo him. I mean, he's still.
I think they're going to boo him. I think they're going to boo him. I think they are.
Real quickly before he gets into the other thought, you think boo or what do you think the reaction is?
Well, it depends. I don't think there are going to be enough Commander fans to boo him. Probably all the Vikings fans will be there.
That's what I'm saying. There's enough Commanders fans, they'll boo him, but I don't think there's going to be enough Commanders fans, so I don't think he's going to get booed.
I think especially after boo for sure. Yeah, I remember they booed Gus Frerotte, and he was like more liked than Kirk Cousins. So
I know. I mean, Kirk Cousins asked for a fair amount of money, but there's nothing wrong with what he did in my mind. But it's.
I went to the playoff game whenever the Lions were like at the field, or whenever Washington made a positive play, they played like the video clip of Gus Frerotte banging his head on like when he was knocked himself out of the game. Like they kept replaying that over and over again to fire up the fans. So they'll probably do something. I just don't know how many like Washington fans are gonna. Maybe they'll start showing up though. They did win 3 games in a row. Maybe
I hope so though, because Terry McLaurin was like pleading with the fans to show up.
Although we have this Dan Snyder thing going on, so maybe that will.
By the way, Arun, I actually watched Gus Frerotte do that live.
I did too.
Yeah, I was upset.
I was in high school when that happened.
Upset, like, why did he do that? Because it was like a 7-0 game, and he tied the game. It was 7-7. That game ended in a 7-7.
Such an idiot. The joke was Gus forgot, right? That was his, his whole thing.
That was. I think I was either a sophomore or a junior in high school when that game came on and that happened, and I was just like, what is he doing?
Yeah, I would have just been just a little bit younger than both of you guys.
Well, I'm an old man. Leave me alone.
Exactly. Well, I'm the youngest of this.
All right. You didn't have to agree so fast, Robbie.
It's rare though. Usually I'm not the youngest. So. The
Vikings.
The Vikings, right? So, Ken, more thoughts?
This game scares the living hell out of me because of the fact that the Vikings are on a 5-game winning streak. They're 6-1. They're at the top of the NFC North, an NFC North where you have Aaron Rodgers that's playing like he's past his prime. Chicago doesn't know what the heck they're doing. I mean, holy crap, that division's like all over the place. And but yet Minnesota seems to be standing out in that division right now. And we got them coming into our house. We already know that Minnesota fans will most likely travel for this one. They will most likely travel, and they will most likely overtake the stadium because this fan base is, I don't know what's wrong with this fan base. I think a lot of them are probably on some kind of substance that you should not be on, honestly. But for the game itself, what this defense needs to do is their defense is very solid. If they can keep Dalvin Cook just like locked down, I think they have a chance. But the problem is that the passing game is still more effective because Jefferson's out there and Thielen. Those are two elite wide receivers. And I also am conflicted with this one because of fantasy football, because I do have Dalvin Cook in my fantasy football league. So a part of me is like, no, Dalvin, go out and get the yards. But at the same time, I'm like, no, lock him down so you can win. So it's a conflict for me. But I feel like if this secondary can finally get their stuff together and play properly and cover well, I think they can win this game. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm calling this a loss because even if you stop Dalvin Cook, Thielen and Jefferson against this very, very poor secondary, they can eat. So I'm calling this a loss, unfortunately. But I would not be surprised, and I would be very, very happy if they were able to end the 5-game winning streak of the Vikings and send the skull back home to Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm hoping that because they've been doing so well that they're like ripe for a loss. But Arun, do you think that there's any chance of that?
Well, before the season, I had the prediction that the Commanders would win, and I was pretty pessimistic on the Commanders, and I just had to have one win that didn't make any sense. But I don't even really think. I don't know. I have to think about this because also Kevin O'Connell, he was the offensive coordinator in Washington, and with much controversy, Ron Rivera didn't retain him, and I think it's kind of worked out for Kevin O'Connell because he won a Super Bowl with the Rams, leading that offense, and the Rams have struggled without him as offensive coordinator, and the Vikings have only lost one game. On the other hand, the Vikings haven't really been tested this season. The only loss that they had was against the Eagles. Washington also lost to the Eagles, and I think their second toughest game may be like the Packers, and Washington beat the Packers. So maybe Kirk Cousins has a dud. I think there's a chance Washington wins. I was going to predict Washington, but I think the brain is saying that the Vikings will win. The heart's saying that Washington will win.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm just taking a look really quickly at what people were thinking at this part of the season. I know we're not the halfway mark anymore because now there's 17 weeks, but we're getting close to that point. So I had us beating Minnesota. CP3 also had us beating it. Dujanet had us had a loss. Hurt had a win. Champ had a win. Benson had a loss. Leslie win. Tim win. Arun win. My dad thought we would lose. And Sith thought we would win. So definitely more wins than losses. And it's interesting. I'm trying to see if anybody has it right with just 4 wins and 4 losses. I was pretty close. I thought we would be 3-5 to this point. CP3 thought that we would be 5-3 at this point. Dujanet thought we'd have 3 wins by now. Hurt thought that we would have more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins by now. Champ, you thought we would have 4 wins. Hey, you were right. Champ, you're so far the first dead on that we found. 4-4. Good job. Benson had 2 wins. Leslie had 6 wins. Tim had 3 wins. Arun, you only had 1 win for us at this point. My dad had us having 3 wins and Sith having 3 wins. So there you go. Through the
I thought Heineke would be back later in the season.
And by the way, I checked the Hertz House Pick'em. I went 11-4 this week, so I'm really flying high right now.
Yeah, nice. I also have been doing better and starting to rise on that. I had a rough couple of weeks. I forgot to do some Thursday games, and so early on I was kind of in the hole. But Arun, I believe, is in second place. Is that right? In this whole thing?
I'm not really paying attention, but maybe.
Of course you're not, but still probably in second place.
I'm paying attention to my picks, but I'm not really paying attention to the standings.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's kind of a fun statistic to just look at, kind of at the, we'll just call it the halfway marker. So we hope that that Champ, you continue to be right with because you had us getting a win and you had us going 5-4 at the halfway mark, then a loss to Philadelphia, and then a lot of wins down the stretch. So Champ having us with 11 wins overall. I had 8 wins.
It's funny that you say I have a win against Minnesota, and I just literally sat here on wax and said they're going to lose. Holy crap!
Right. Exactly.
Well, at the same, well,
you only have 2 losses remaining in your predictions, just so you know.
To be fair, I did not think Minnesota was going to start off this good. Honestly, I did not predict them to come into this game with the record that they have. So I just went off of what happened last year and just did that. So yeah.
Right. You also was beating the Giants twice, which would be amazing if that can happen. Beating Houston, Atlanta, Cleveland, and Dallas, only losing to San Francisco and Philadelphia after beating Minnesota. But I hope that you're right. I hope that the end of the season, that we're like, man, Champ had a hell of a prediction. So
too.
Yeah. So
I'm not right.
Yeah, I do hope that you're not right. Arun had us at 5-12. I have us at 8-9, which I still think, based on everything that we've seen so far, is still a fairly likely.
I'm only at 5-12 just based on Washington sports.
Right, exactly. That's
fair. I think I'm probably wrong.
My dad was right there with you. He had 6-11. Benson also had 5-12. So you weren't alone in that thought process.
Carson Wentz is kind of
joined Champ with having 11 wins predicted, and Sith has 10. Tim had 7. Leslie had 10. So yeah, it's we shall see. DJ also had 10. So it'll be interesting to see how these next couple of games go. One thing that's very strange is no one had the NFC East being this good, but if all of them keep on winning their out of division games and we all split our in division games, wouldn't it be something if they could get all 3 wild card spots? It's statistically possible. It'd be very difficult for all these teams.
Well, it's easier now. It's 17. Yeah, 17 in the playoffs. But yeah, so
that's still crazy though. It's the first year that could have ever happened with 7, right? Has any division gotten to do it yet? No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, so that would be difficult because they play each other a bunch, so they like knock each other out. But if they're
Washington has also the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL because they also have to play their division the most.
Right, exactly.
And they're the worst team right now in their division.
But one positive thing, though, gentlemen, is that the news has come out that Chase Young will be back at practice doing drills for the first time since tearing his ACL. That is positive news for this team and this defense.
Yeah, I would still. I don't know when I want him to come back. But
I would give him another week. I would give him another week and then bring him back. That would be me, though. Unless he really shows out at you would wait longer.
Yeah, I want it to be right. I'm not so sold on this, and our defense has been pretty good without him. Like, it's not like I just feel like it's gonna mess up the chemistry. I think my target would actually be the Atlanta game in week 12. Right before we go on the road to New York Giants, because then we get a bye week, so you'd only have to play 2 games and then have the bye week and then have another game. So I think that'd be kind of a way to ease them in a little bit. But Arun, when do you think you'd want him back?
Oh, I just have to bring this up. It led me to my closing segment. RG3 thinks that he admires the Commanders' approach. He wishes that the Commanders had taken more time bringing RG3 back. Although I think RG3 kind of dug his own hole, but it's kind of funny, RG3.
Yeah, interesting.
It's been so long since you had an RG3 mention on this podcast, Arun. I was waiting for it, and then you
Yeah,
dropped it on me.
there you go. You at least expect it. Arun always comes through in the clutch. Real quickly before I let you guys go, just wanted to find out: did either of you guys watch either of the two World Series games? Because we did talk about it last week. I'll start off with you, Ken. Did you get a chance to watch either of them?
Unfortunately, I did not. Though, someone that I know from another Twitch stream that I'm in that I mod for, she is a Philadelphia Phillies fan, and she's been keeping us updated on the series itself. I'm kind of hoping that the Phillies kind of pull it out because f the Astros.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you, Arun. I forget. Were you pulling for Philly or Houston in this one?
I'm going for Houston.
All right,
Going
now
for it makes the Nationals World Series looks better.
Fair.
Sure. Okay.
And also Dusty
And
Baker.
I would be okay with it for Dusty Baker more than that, but yeah. So Philadelphia went into Houston. They won the first game 6-5. It was a really exciting game. The Astros were up 5-0 in the bottom of the third, so pretty early on. But then in the top of the fourth, Philly comes back and puts 3 runs on the board. They end up tying it in the 5th inning. It goes all the way to the 10th inning, where JT Realmuto homered 350 feet deep right to get a 6-5 lead. They were able to hold on to that 6-5 lead to take game 1, which is the first time that Houston had lost all playoffs. And the last time that they had lost actually was to Philadelphia in the last series of the regular season. Then, unfortunately, Houston put up 5 runs and then by the bottom of the 5th inning in the game 2. But unfortunately, Philly was close to getting a home run to make this game a little bit closer. They got one hit that was a sacrifice fly, 5-1. They had a chance at a home run to cut it to 5-3, and it was originally called a home run. They reviewed it. It was just foul. Then the next pitch, or one of the next pitches, he hits it and he skies it up high, and it's caught on the warning track. And you've got all these Philly fans twice thinking that they had gotten the home run there, only to have it called back, which is tough from a momentum point of view to kind of get back out of, because that would have been really big towards the end of the game. And then in the 9th inning, they were able to get one more run back to make it 5-2. But I really feel like it was 5-4 in the 9th. It would have been put more pressure on them. It would have been a very different end of that baseball game. But Arun, any thoughts on the World Series?
Yeah, I saw a lot of game 2, and I think the Astros, they made the adjustment of hitting early in the count. I believe on the first 5 pitches they swung away, and they were able to convert Altuve. He was cold for most of that Yankees series, but he had 3 hits in this game. And Zach Wheeler kind of struggled. The bullpen for the Astros was able to get it done, and they're still going to have to win in Philadelphia. But it was the first win in the World Series for the Astros at home because they since 2017 because they lost all those games at home to the Nationals, and the Astros had never won a game 1 in the World Series, so it's hard to rule them out. Even like usually the team that wins game 1 is favored. The Astros did beat the Dodgers, and they did come back against the Nationals to take a 3-2 lead. So Phillies are definitely going to have to play better at home, and we'll see. The Phillies crowd has been great there, and it should be an exciting series, or we'll see. I don't know. Anything can happen in baseball.
For sure. Champ, any final thoughts before I get into the upcoming schedule?
Sure. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how both teams are able to play with this third game because tonight's game 3 was postponed due to rain. So it's be interesting to see how they're able to adjust and move forward with the schedule being changed because of rain, because it's been raining here in the DMV. So I'm sure it's raining there in Philly. But it'll be interesting to see what the Phillies are able to do. Phillies made a great run throughout the playoffs to get here, and it's pretty much neck and neck at this point. But again, it's going to be interesting to see how both teams are able to adjust to a schedule change because they were fully prepared to play tonight, but now they have to play probably tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, so they're playing Tuesday, November 1st, at 8:03 start. That's always an 8:03 start for some reason. And Wednesday, they also play at the same time. All these games are in Houston, all these games are in Philly. And then Thursday, November 3rd, also at 8 o'clock, or 8:03 as they call it. Also, starting at 8:15, the Eagles play the Texans. So we talked about this at the beginning of the podcast that Tim was breaking that news to me, that now both cities are playing each other in the NFL and World Series at the same time, and they weren't meant to play on Thursday. Originally, it was going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that was going to be a travel day. So that I think is really interesting. For Thursday, it'll be an exciting sports night if you care about either of those cities or either of the teams. I mean, the Eagles have been doing really well. They're the last undefeated team. So anyway, 3 games in Philly. If we remember in 2019, Washington went to Houston, stole 2, and we're pretty happy about that, just like they stole 1 of them, and then they lost all 3 of them at home. But then they were able to come back and win 2 more in Houston. But if I'm Philly, you got to take 2 out of 3 of these if you really want a chance at this, because I wouldn't guarantee winning both in Houston by any stretch. Arun, any final thoughts on the World Series before we give our closing thoughts on the night?
No, not really. Just that I think also the other reason is there would be one person I know who'd be really salty if Houston won. That would be also a motivating factor.
Yeah, I definitely am rooting for the East Coast representation and the NL East, and I also just think that the Nats had a tough year, but if they lost a lot to Philly and a lot of these other teams that did pretty well, then somehow it makes it seem not as bad. My dad has always told me that you root for the team in your division.
Even Dallas.
But yeah, I can never do it for Dallas. So I have rooted for the Eagles and the Giants in the Super Bowl, but I've never rooted for Dallas. So I mean, it was hard enough. I mean, Philly, the Eagles won was mostly when I was in college there, because I really wanted them to beat Tom Brady. And then that whole thing, and I wanted McNabb, and anyway, and that city had needed something positive, and it would have been nice to be there for the parade.
But now they have enough positive things going on.
That's true. They're doing really well. And I guess, Arun, you were also in Philadelphia at that time.
Yeah, I guess I had a different experience with Philadelphia fans, like peeing in my dorm room door. Randomly. So like,
I mean, I also had asshole Philly fans like yell at me for wearing a Sean Taylor hat right after he died. So, Philly fans are kind of the worst, but I do like their teams sometimes because they do sometimes have likable players. But I definitely,
their teams are likable sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So, sounds good. I'll ruin any final thoughts before I let you go tonight.
Yeah, everyone's bringing up that this is a Kirk Cousins coming back home playing his former team. The Heineke's actually playing the team that originally they signed him originally, where he started his career as a third string quarterback. So could be Heineke revenge game.
It's interesting. I didn't even really know that. So it's another fun fact by Arun, which I appreciate as always. And we'll look forward to having you on hopefully next week. Hopefully we'll recap another victory in a great series of wins. And hopefully the Wizards will do better and have a good post game for that as well. But Arun, I appreciate you for joining us as always. And I hope that you have a great rest of your Halloween, whatever the last 20 minutes are of it.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
Sounds good. All right. I want to have you give an opportunity to let people know what's happening on the No Spots podcast, and any final thoughts that you have, and I'll give you another shout out.
So this week, the No Spots podcast, we want to be on a special date and time of Thursday at 7 p.m. Because this Saturday it is WWE Crown Jewel. Their jaunt to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for their premium live event pay-per-view, where they're going to be having some big matches there. We're going to preview that card as well. Also, some big news coming out of wrestling, including a current WWE superstar who is actually going to be wrestling a soon-to-be retired Japanese legend in a Japanese wrestling promotion, which is historic and just big news there. So we're going to talk about all of that and more this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, live on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, with the audio going up on Friday morning. And you can check out the podcast partners button at sportsothp.com, where you can listen to that episode as well as this past week's episode, where I break the fourth wall, as we say in wrestling. I break the fourth wall and let you all into what's been going on in my personal life. And it's one that will most likely move you a lot and maybe trigger you a lot as well. So I do apologize in advance and give you an advance warning. It is very triggering and it is very emotional, but it is something that I needed to get off of my chest. So that is from last week's episode. So if you want to listen to that, it is currently available in the archives.
All right. Well, thank you for letting us know about that as well. And I appreciate all of your insights for all the different sports that you watch, and for being one of my mods and doing so much for this channel, which I very much appreciate, and so much for this network. I'm so excited the True Radio Network still lives on, through our two shows. I really, thank Black GOP for, creating this network and giving us this opportunity. Hurt as well. I think I can.
Also, if anybody wants to know, because Sith is a big big fan and a big watcher of the Halloween movie series. If y'all want to hear his thoughts on the latest Halloween movie, Halloween End, which is potentially, it might change, but the potential last movie in the last installment in the series, listen to his podcast on Spotify as well, Sith's Basement. That's my co-host.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do I have a Sith command? I need to make a Sith command. I need to make a Hurt command. They're not in there, but they're both really great. I mean, Hurt's been doing some great YouTube series as well on his medical conditions and his life journey, and through losing weight and dealing with a bunch of different medical issues that he's had to deal with. So I really encourage people to go check that out, and Sith Basement as well. So there's still people doing big things on the True Radio Network. And I appreciate Sith for all the contributions he's done on this show and all the other shows that you do, and being a part of the network as well. So what a great network that we have. And also check out CP3. He didn't do a post game yesterday. He was live, doing his other show. Let me do a CP3 command here. He talks a ton of different things. He also is on At the Bar Radio on Sundays. He does pre and post games a lot of weeks for the Commanders, and also been a co-host of this channel for a very, very long time. We do miss him. He works till midnight on weekdays now, so it's tough to get him on this show, but I do hope that people go over and check out his socials, and he does still a lot of videos for the channel. Go to facebook.com/sportsothp. Can get a lot of post game videos, highlight videos of all the different teams. If you go to sportsothp.com and click the socials button, you can catch him on any of the social medias, whether it be Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. You can also have all my links to all those same things, as well as this Twitch if you're checking us out there. With that, I'm going to end the audio podcast on Facebook Live. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in and being a part of the show tonight over there on Facebook. Let me just end that real quickly. But we're DC Sports without the politics, DC Sports, SportsOTHP. We can say it's not just a catchphrase. It's what we do, and it is. It's something that's important to us, and I really appreciate all of our contributors for being a part of it. We'll be back to a more normal schedule next week at 9 o'clock start time with hockey. Might be an hour, so we may do either football or basketball next, depending on which guests we'll have. So we'll do an announcement next Sunday on the hour 2 schedule, and really appreciate everyone for tuning in and being a part of that. And will conclude the audio of episode 287. We'll call it the Halloween special, Caps Wizards post game, and Commanders win plus World Series. We'll talk to you guys on the audio side and on the Facebook side next week.
Sayonara.
Stop the live stream.
Recording stopped.
we're stopping the recording. We're still live here on Twitch. We're going to just make sure that everything is. This is what happens when you're streaming on a million things at once. Got to make sure they're all turned off. Let's take a quick look at the people who are online right now. If people want to give advice or thoughts or suggestions, they can throw it out in chat right now, and we'll take a look at it. A couple people I knew were gonna do Halloween stream, so I'm just checking right now to see if any of those people are still on. I do not see any of those people still on. Purloin is in chat, so you can poke catch that. Catch the great ball. All right. If anybody else has somebody that they'd like us to check out, we can check that out too. If not, I'm just gonna pick somebody from the streamer list that I've got here. Tamp, do you or Andy have anybody that you would like to go see?
I don't have anybody.
Okay. And I know that Champ was saying that he was watching something else. I don't even know if he's watching Twitch on the other one. But the Human Juke 81, we can maybe go visit. He's actually a music streamer out of DC area. He's been streaming for 3 hours and 40 minutes. I don't know, that's a long time. Just taking a look at some of the other people as well. Got Fleece King who's doing Pokemon Go. We've got Miss Click doing Overwatch. Five Nights at Freddy's with the Lost Drake. Thank you everyone for sending the love using the points. Appreciate that. We got Deathbringer, Black Girl Gamer Music. She's pretty awesome. She's a pretty good DJ. All right, we also have Bricks Go Bird and Don't Starve Together. You know what? Bricks has been in our channel before. Let's go visit her. Wow, she's 5 hours into stream. But let's just go say hi and bring a couple people that way. We don't have a ton of people in chat right now. So we'll just do real raid Bricks. She's a good friend of mine over in Hattie's. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Champ, for being part of the show as you are every week. And I appreciate your insight on both football and of course basketball and wrestling and sub raid. Andy just did the raid one, and we'll get the sub raid there as well. And we can head on over. But happy Halloween, Champ! Thanks for doing this. And
thank you.
Happy Halloween to you, Andy, as well. Hopefully, we'll see you on Wednesday. I know that you did just release on your YouTube channel, I believe, the latest collaboration with somebody else. It's also a mod in our chat that was here today. And I hope that people go check that out. And thank you for being here, Andy and Carly earlier, and everybody that was able to tune in and be a part of this. And I appreciate everyone who's going to raid. Just go and say hi to Bricks and have a great rest of your Halloween, the last 12 minutes of it. And we'll talk to you next week.